So we're going to do lesson 3.5 on dividing polynomials. And we're going to start off with recalling how we used to do long division. And take this example, divide 5,525 by 13. So we would make this little box here and put 5525 under it. And then we would divide it by 13. Then we would see how many times 13 goes into 55. It goes into it 4 times. 13 fours are 52, and then we'd subtract. I don't know why this is. Okay, and you'd subtract and you'd get 3 here, and you bring down the 2, you get 32. 13 goes into 32 2 times. 13 twos are 26. You subtract. 12 minus 6 is 6. Then you bring down the 5. 13 goes into 65 5 times. 13 fives are 65. You subtract, and you get the answer as 0. So you have here the remainder is 0 when you divide these two numbers. So we can also say that if we did 13 times 425, that would be equal to 5,525. Okay. So we could use the same idea even when we are, dividing polynomials. So let's say we had this polynomial x squared minus 2x minus 3. We're dividing it by x plus 1. I'm going to first do it using long division and then using synthetic division. Okay, so if we were doing it by long division, I would put this little box, put x squared minus 2x minus 3 here, and I'm dividing it by x plus 1. And then I look at how many times x goes into x squared. It goes into it x times. So I'd multiply the x with the x plus 1. So distribute the x into the product, x plus 1. So x times x would give me x squared, and x times 1 would give me an x. Now I'd have to subtract. So these two will cancel out. You get a 0 here, and negative 2x minus x would give me negative 3x. I'll bring down the negative 3. And then I would have to say how many times does x go into negative 3? It goes into it negative 3 times. So then I got to multiply the negative 3 with both the x and the plus 1. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times plus 1 is negative 3. And then I subtract, so then they add up to 0. Okay, so this is how you would do it. The remainder is 0. You don't always have to get the remainder of 0, but in this case, the remainder is 0. Basically, x plus 1 times x minus 3, which is these two here, will give you x squared minus 2x minus 3. And these are the factors of this quadratic. All right, so now I'm going to do this using another method, which is a lot faster than long division, and that method is called synthetic division. Okay, and we are going to use this than the long division method when we are dividing synthetic division, D-I-V-I-S-I-O-N. Okay, so what you're going to do is, if you are asked to divide x squared minus 2x minus 3 by x plus 1, that means you're going to take the negative of that plus 1, which is minus 1. Okay, so if this was x minus 1, you would use plus 1. If it's x plus 1, you use minus 1. Then you make this shape. It's kind of the opposite of the long division shape. And then you write the coefficients of the terms in, decreasing order of their degree. So the coefficient of the x squared term is 1, so you write 1 there. The coefficient of the x term is -2, so you write -2 next. The coefficient of the x to the power of 0 term is -3, so you write -3 last. Now remember, if you had, say we didn't have an x term, then you put a 0 in place of -2. Okay, but we do have an x term's coefficient, which is -2. And you bring down this first coefficient, write it down here, and multiply the -1 and this one. Okay, so this, just going to put that in color, multiply the -1 with this one. So -1 times 1 is 1. Sorry, -1. And then you add the -2 and the -1. -2 minus 1 is -3. Then you're going to multiply the -1, which you have here, with the -3, which is going to give you +3. So when you add -3 and +3, you get 0, which is what you want. So you kind of know when you get 0 that you have factored this and the remainder is 0. Okay, so that tells you the remainder is 0 when you divide these two. So it gives you the answer quite quickly, which is why it's preferred method. And what you can say is this division gives you the answer as this would be the x term, and this would be the next term, -3. So basically that's the answer you get, which is what we got here, up here when we divided. Okay, so that division gives you, when you divide x squared minus 2x minus 3 by x plus 1, the answer is x minus 3. All right. All right, let's try another example. We're going to divide 13x minus 2x cubed plus x to the power 4 minus 6 by x plus 2. So that means we are going to take -2, and then we're going to write this in decreasing order of the coefficients. Okay, so it's not given that form. So for this one here, before I do that, let me just erase this over here and rewrite this polynomial as x to the power 4 minus 2x cubed plus 0x squared, because we don't have an x squared term, but we need to account for those that are missing also, plus 13x minus 6. Okay, and then you're going to put the -2 here, and then going to write the coefficients. Okay, so the coefficient of the x to the power 4 term is 1. The coefficient of the x cubed term is -2. The x squared is 0. Of the x is 13, and the last one you have is -6. You bring down this one. -2 times 1 is -2. Now you add these two, you get -4. Then multiply the -4 times -2, you get 4 2s are 8. You add 0 plus 8, you get 8. Then you multiply 8 times -2, which is -16. And then you add 3 minus 16, which is -3. Then you multiply -2 times -3, which is +6. You add -6 and +6, and you get 0, which is great. That means this divides completely and gives you a 0 remainder. So basically the answer is, when you divide those two, you get, well, you're dividing this by x plus 2, right? So your first term is going to be to the power of 3. So it's going to be 1x cubed, and then this is going to be minus 4x squared plus 8x minus 3. So that's your answer. Okay, so it has to be degree 3 because you're dividing to x to the power 4 by x to the power of 1. So your answer should start with x to the power of 3. So you have the answer very quickly using synthetic division. Take another example. Consider the function f of x equals 6x cubed plus 5x squared minus 16x minus 15. By trial and error, you find that 2x plus 3 is a factor of f of x. Determine all factors of f of x and then sketch the graph of f of x. So your f of x is equal to 6x cubed plus 5x squared minus 16x, minus 15. And they're all given to you in the decreasing order of their degree, so that's great. And so you're going to divide it by 2x plus 3 is what you found as a factor. So what are you going to put as the number here? What's the number going to be? But you can't put negative 3 because you have a 2 there. So you just equate that to 0. 2x plus 3 equal to 0. 2x equals negative 3. X equals negative 3 over 2. So you're actually putting that number that you put here is negative 3 over 2. So whenever you do not know what the number should be, just equate that, what you're dividing it by to 0, and you'll find the value of x and put that value of x here. Now put the coefficients of the terms of the polynomial. So you have 6, 5, negative 16, and negative 15. Okay, you bring down the 6, you multiply negative 3 over 2 times 6, you get, so if you do negative 3 over 2 times 6, you get negative 9. So you put negative 9 there, add 5 minus 9, you get negative 4. Then you multiply negative 3 over 2 times negative 4. So 2 goes into 4 2 times, you get 6. Negative 16 plus 6, when you add, you get negative 10. Then you multiply negative 3 over 2 times 10, and you get 15. So when you add 15 minus 15, you get 0 here. So therefore, the answer is, when you divide those two, you're going to get, so you're multiplying an x cubed term by an x term. So this is going to be 6x squared minus 4x minus 10. That's going to be your answer when you do the division. Okay, and then it says determine all the factors of f of x. So basically you've got the fact that f of x would be equal to which is 6x cubed plus 5x squared minus 16x minus 15. You right now have it as equal to the product of 2x plus 3, which is one of the factors, times what you just now got as the answer, 6x squared minus 4x minus 10. Okay, and because the 6x squared minus 4x minus 10 is a quadratic, you can factor it further. Okay, you can factor it by taking out the common factor. The greatest common factor for this is 2. So it's 2 times 3x squared minus 2x minus 5. And then you can factor it by grouping, which we've already learned before. So I'm just going to put the answer out there. When you factor 3x squared minus 2x minus 5, you're going to get x plus 1 as one factor and 3x minus 5 as the other factor. Now you have to do the step, but I didn't show how to do it because we've already learned this before. And then you're going to have 2x plus 3. So this is the answer to finding all the factors of the function f of x. And then you're asked to sketch it. So how would you sketch this polynomial? Well, you're going to look at the zeros it's going to have. The zeros are going to be negative 1. You're going to put each of them equal to 0. X plus 1 equal to 0. That means x equals negative 1. 3x minus 5 equals 0, so x equals 5 over 3. And 2x plus 3 equals 0, which means x equals negative 3 over 2. So if you were to put that in, using decimals, the zeros would be negative 1. 5 over 3 would be approximately 1.7. Negative 3 over 2 would be exactly 1.5. Negative 1.5. So on my graph, I'm going to say, let's say this is my negative 1. This is my positive 1. This is my positive 2. So my zeros would be, I'm just going to change the color on them. This would be 1, 0, negative 1. Then 1.7. kind of very close to the other zero I have, which is 1.5. And it's a degree 3 with a positive leading coefficient. So this means it's going to be like y equals x. So it's going to go from quadrant 3 to quadrant 1. Okay, because the positive leading coefficient of 2 and it's degree 3. So we're going to start from here, and it's going to have a linear behavior at all of the three zeros because their orders are all 1. Okay, this is 1 here, this is 1 here, this is 1 here. So they're all going to go with a linear fashion, right? So it's going to go cross 1, and then you know, even this, we can see that there is a y-intercept of -15. So let's say somewhere down here on this line you have -15. So -1, 2, it's going to be way down there. Let's say this is your -15. Okay, it's not to scale now because it's way down. So it's going to go down to -15, then go up to 1, right? And then this is not very clear, and then end up here. Okay, so it's going to cross this 0, then the next 0, and then go back up. So this is a rough sketch. Not, and put arrows at the tips. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. You may want to try this graph on Desmos just to see what it looks like in reality, and then try the practice questions.